Hey guys, good evening. Welcome to the live stream. Just a minute or two early, so I'm going to give folks just a minute. But I see you guys in the chat. Thank you for showing up here early. I appreciate that. That is real support, man. You guys are taking time out of your evening tonight to sit with me. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Hello, Doug. See you. Cup it. Can't wait to hit the soft water. That's right. Yes. Big water and boats, man. Here we come. Matt, I see you. Good evening to you as well. April is coming real fast, real fast. First 2 weeks of April are my first two. That's my first booking window. If you guys want to come out and fish with me, the first 2 weeks of April, just shoot me a message and we'll set you up for it. But hello, everyone, Charles says. Yeah, hello back to you, buddy. Dan, it's good to see you in the chat, man. Welcome to the live stream. Is the lake still frozen? Yes. It's very much still frozen. It is falling apart fast, though, man. It's just cracks and fissures and unsafe conditions and all that stuff, but it's coming, man. Days like today, ice doesn't last that long. So I'm probably going to do a dock update here either tomorrow or Wednesday, so just keep an eye out for that. And I'll show you what the conditions are actually looking like. Yeah, but that ice is going fast. Rick, good evening. Mark, good evening. Phil, I see you. Hello back to you, buddy. All right, guys. Well, we can kind of ease our way into this a little bit. I titled this Divers, Dodgers, and Dipseys. So we're going to talk a little bit about some trolling techniques that maybe aren't quite as popular to folks who are getting their boats out on the water, especially whenever you're dealing with bigger, deeper water that require being fished a little bit different. So I'm going to get into just a little bit about the divers and dodgers and different techniques, like I was saying. And we'll talk about flashers a little bit too. So maybe some tools you're not familiar with. These are all linked just below in the video. If you guys want to go find one and try them out and stuff, it's a lot of fun to fish with what I would call a more advanced technique than simply just letting a bunch of line out and dragging lures. So if you learn a few of these simple techniques, you'll start to put a few more fish in the boat. You have a little more success, but a lot more fun while you're out there. So before I jump into all that, I figured I would share this with you here. I'm bringing the map up, and this is 7 Points Marina. And this is where I'm going to be talking about today, just because we're going to be talking about trolling a lot, and there's a couple things on my mind about this area. So if you guys have this map already bookmarked in your bookmarks bar, you just open it up and you guys can cruise along with me. And I want to point out that if I'm talking about an area on the lake that say there's an area on the lake you're more interested in, just say something in the chat, and I'll try to steer this conversation to that area. Maybe you'll just learn a little something. So a mile marker or a dock or a marina, whatever it is, just get me to the right area. And then I'll use that area as kind of like a guide for my demonstration, because I don't care where we fish. When we do this virtual fishing, when we're just cruising around a lake, we can go anywhere. It only takes a moment. But yeah, that's the way you can interact with the chat. I'd appreciate some thumbs up, and all that stuff just helps. But most of all, thank you for being here and being a viewer. All right, very good. So if you guys have any questions at all as we go here, just punch them into the chat. I'll do my best to address them. All right, so before I talk about the different divers and stuff, I want to point out the events that are coming up. I know that you guys are somewhat familiar, at least, but if you go to my webpage and you go to the fishing section, you can scroll down, and the first one coming up is the Raystown Rendezvous. So you just go down here to the product section here. This is the dates for it, and this is right near the Entrican blinking light, so the yellow blinking light that everybody's familiar with. It's about a mile and a half from it. It takes like 3 minutes to drive from that blinking light right up to, and the address is right here, but it's just about 3 minutes from that blinking light. But this is the Raystown Rendezvous. This is the first event of the year. I'm getting more solidified on what the actual itinerary is going to be, and as soon as I get that solid, I'll start sharing the details with you. But ultimately, what it's looking like is we'll arrive Friday evening, and we'll just kind of hang out and get camped. We're going to camp over Friday night, maybe have a fire and just kind of hang out, talk fishing. And then Saturday, we're going to have some events, and I might do some games and stuff, but mostly from like noon and then through the evening, I'm looking forward to just spending some one-on-one time with you guys, just talking fishing. And then, of course, at the end of the night, we're going to have a panel of experts actually having some more in-depth conversation, and I'm going to bring you guys the itinerary for that. So Saturday evening is the big night, if you will. But that's the Raystown Rendezvous. I'm still putting that together. When it is together, you'll be the first to know, and I'll start talking about it in the dock updates so you guys can stay up to speed with it. But yeah, I'd appreciate if you do the online registration for that. That helps to cover some of the expenses. And if not, it's fine. Just show up. The most important thing is that you're part of the community and you show up and be part of it. So that's coming up real quick. Hopefully you guys can all make it. Good evening, Fish King's Cutlery and Trophy. I see you. All right. Let me jump over here. So I'm going to move. This is the section of the map we're going to look at, right around 7 points. But before I do that, I want to actually share these with you. The first one that I'm going to talk to you about shouldn't be no surprise, because the Dipsy diver is probably the most popular diver the fishing community at least is familiar with, and there's good reason for that. It's a good tool. It does have limitations though, so I'm going to kind of run the gamut with the Dipsy diver with you, and if it's the first time you've heard of it, hey, consider it a crash course. But let's get right into it here. This is your Dipsy diver. So there's a couple parts to look at on this Dipsy diver, but before I get into that, I want to draw your attention to this diagram down here in the bottom, because I want to address the why. The why you need a diver and what it actually does, what it helps you actually accomplish when you're out there. The normal trolling span, as it's diagrammed here, like if you were to use downriggers, they're going to pull them straight down below the boat, and you're going to end up with this narrow span, whereas with the Dipsy diver, you have the option to increase that span by dialing on the side here. They have these settings, and it not only dives down deep, but it also sends it off to the side. So it has a planing effect as well as a diving effect. This is not the only diver that does that. This is just a really simple one to understand, because you just crank the dial and it goes out. And it actually has it written right on the diver, whether you're going left or going right. Down at the very bottom, just keep this in mind that you increase your trolling with your Dipsy diver. So the faster you go, the deeper they dive. It's more tension on the line. Of course, it's going to dive harder down through the water. If you look up on this top section here, there's a line that's pointing toward this yellow ring on the outside. I'm going to suggest to you guys, if you guys follow the link that's down below this video for one of the Dipsy divers, I'm going to suggest that immediately you go find the ring that actually clips onto the outside of it. You can choose different sizes of Dipseys. I'm going to suggest you get size 1 and then get those rings for it. It's mostly what I use, and I think you guys would agree that's probably a pretty good place to start with. There's a lot of flexibility with that size. But that ring that goes on the outside, I'm going to tell you guys to get that. You want to make sure that you have that, because it gives you just a little bit more edge when it comes to diving. And they're very inexpensive, but it helps out a lot. What it does essentially is it gets you to the depth without having to send so much line out behind your boat. So while I have this one up, I want to show you the brother, the cousin, if you will, to the Dipsy diver. I personally like the Dipsy diver, but I prefer what is called the slide diver. And this is a slide diver here. And it's very similar to a Dipsy. It's got the same wheel on the underside. I wish I had a better diagram for you. This is just what I found before the live stream. But it has the levers, and the way the line runs through this is a little bit different. It's called a slide diver for a reason. The line itself actually goes all the way through this diver and back to your lure. And so whenever the fish takes your lure and it creates resistance on this diver and it triggers it, this diver actually slides back to where you have your stop, back by the lure. So usually you put a bead or a swivel up in front of your lure, and this will slide all the way back there. I like that mainly for two reasons. One, you can strip out as much line as you want to send that lure back way behind the boat. And that's going to be really important if you're going to be fishing striped bass at Raystown Lake. So striped bass are a little bit more sensitive to the Dipseys. At least that's my experience. Maybe somebody else has a different experience, but most of my striper hits have come on longer lines behind this slide diver. As a matter of fact, I can't think of any Dipsy setups that I caught striper on. But the slide diver is different because I can strip out 100 feet and then clip these levers that you see here. I can clip these levers then, and that holds the line in place right wherever I want to stop it. So now I got 100 feet of line behind the boat, and then I put this diver into the water, and it dives down, say, to 15 or 20 feet. And now it's not only 15 or 20 feet underwater, it's also 100 feet back. And it's essentially a soft presentation or a non-invasive presentation for the striped bass. Ultimately, when I'm fishing these down around Raystown Lake, I do a rig that would be good for both a large laker or a striper, because I want to have some dynamic in my presentation. So I set these up a little bit different than, well, all my rods are a little bit different. Ultimately, what I'm saying is the slide diver is a little bit more fidgety, but it's also more effective. Now, I told you two reasons. What was it? The first reason was so that I could strip line out behind it. That was a good reason. What was my second reason? I forget what it was. I'll come back to it, I guess. But does that make sense? Am I explaining that clearly? I think you guys are on track with it. The idea of these divers isn't just to get them deep. And I'm going to compare it to the Dipsy diver so I can really illustrate the point I'm trying to make. But it's to present so that the fish are more likely to take it. And I'm saying that, and I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but understand the diver itself works as an attractor, or it can actually scare the fish away, and some fish are more skittish than others. What fish are skittish? Striped bass, I mentioned. Walleye are known to be more skittish. And then lakers, on the other hand, on the other side of it, they are actually attracted to the diver. So I have the option to not strip out 100 feet of line before the diver. I can actually just strip out 10 feet of line and then, clip the diver in place. The point being is that diver will actually work as an attractor to bring the lake trout in, and then they'll find the spoon and you get them. So it gives you a little bit of dynamic with that. So you can have the option to send line back or not. Whereas the Dipsy is restrictive, the slide diver gives you the option. And so yes, they're a little bit more fidgety. They're a little bit more fidgety than a Dipsy, but I think it's worth it. If you look here on the main line of the Dipsy, it clips in. That's a hard line right here on the top left. That's a hard line. It clips in and it stops on this clip, and then it's just in line back to your lure. The slide diver, this actually rides through the loop, through the body, and then back to the lure, so that when it disengages here, this whole hockey puck of a diver slides all the way back to where you have your stop set up. Now, the limitations. I want to talk about a simple technique with you. Whenever it comes to actually retrieving or working the column of water, There's some options you can do with whether it's a Dipsy diver or a slide diver. I'm going to talk about how you can actually retrieve that, and you'll actually be able to work the column then in some way. Very good, very good. I think I'm being clear on that, so I'm going to keep on. I'm going to keep on cruising with it. Whenever you are out there trolling and you have your electronics, you're looking down underwater, you may have your Dipseys or your slide divers set up at a depth way down here. So, 40, 50 feet deep. So down deep. Stay out of them trees. But they're down deep. And then you might mark 3 or 4 fish up here in 30 feet of water. Essentially, your baits and lures are going to be way down there below them. They're going to miss them. Highly unlikely that you're going to connect with fish. Most fish feed up, so they hunt looking toward this. They try to skyline their bait. When they're hunting, they usually look up and they skyline the bait and they come up and get them. If you're down below them, it's very unlikely they're going to change their minds and come down after you. So here's what I want you to think of. We're going to work that column by doing one of two things. One, we're going to take the rod out of the holder and we're going to start cranking that lure without disengaging it, and you're going to retrieve it. You're going to bring it closer to the boat. As the chart points out with these Dipseys, the more line you have out, the deeper they go. So if you naturally retrieve some of that line, that lure is going to be higher in the column. So you'll have to time that a little bit. It takes a little finesse. But ultimately, with the Dipsy or with the slide diver, you can actually pop it and it'll come up through the water. So you can just pop it, do no retrieving, and it'll come up through the water, serving as an attractor, and you have your spoon behind it. So it's coming up through the water, through the column. I do this all the time with my downrigger. So it's a great technique. You guys can adapt it to your downrigger fishing too. I call it the rip the clip trick. and I love doing it with my clients whenever it gets a little boring or something like that. I just say, let's do a rip the clip trick, and we'll both pop our clips and we'll just hold on to our rods. So when we go through a school of walleye, I'm thinking Lake Erie right now, if we go through a school of walleye and we haven't loaded up, I assume that they're following. And so what I do is I'll grab my downrigger and I'll just rip it off the clip and just hold the rod. So I don't retrieve line at all. I'm just letting that lure come up through crawler harness in this example usually, but I let it just come up through the column, and sure enough, it usually loads up. So this is a technique you can do with Dipseys and slide divers and downriggers, and that immediately makes you more active with the fishing process too. You are offering a presentation to these fish instead of just being down here in the depths. When you pop that clip, it starts coming up through the water column, and a fish's instinct is to give chase to it. So what you're doing is you're taking a lure that is essentially stagnant, just back there flicking, and they might be following behind it, but not dedicating themselves, not striking it. But by popping the clip and making it swim away up through the column, like a natural bait fish would run, it's like an instinctive thing. You just pull out of that aggressive, that hunter in the fish. He just has to go after it. So it's just a method that might work for you guys. And I use it a lot on the boat. It's a lot of fun too, especially if it's slow fishing. It's a good option to do to kind of get people loosened up and back into it. So let's jump over to this map real quick. I'm back at 7 points here. This is probably where we're all going to end up going, huh? I think the first ice out will be either 7 points or all the way up here at Snyder's. Usually, and I only say that because of the deep water in that area. But I'm thinking 7 points. We'll see. I'll keep track of it. I do want to mention, as far as the events, I already kind of talked about that. But I did mention in the last 2 live streams the possibility of doing a get-together, not an event, just something just for fun, at the 7 Points swimming area. And I thought we could try to cast from the bank for lake trout. So ice out lake trout is a thing. So I don't know if it will work. I've never done it before, but if it's possible, we can achieve it, here coming up, probably just in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks or something like that. But I'll keep you guys up to date with that too. But ultimately, if we do that, it's going to be right here at the 7 Points Marina. The swimming area right here. So you guys know this big loop that comes down around 7 Points. And then you just pull off here in this parking lot area. But I need to make sure that that's not gated up. But this area right here along this shoreline is where we would be casting for ice out lake trout. So around in this area here, we'll be casting these blue shaded waters right along here. It gets a little steep over here. It's kind of hard to traverse, but I think with the water being down, it's actually going to be a great opportunity for to do this. This year, and just the water conditions with the drought has given us the opportunity where this is actually possible. So that's why I'm kind of running with this idea. If you guys want to be a part of this, you don't have to book anything. You got to tell me or anything like that. I'll just be talking about the days we're going to be doing it, and you can show up or not show up. We'll just see how it goes. We'll put it together and see how it goes. I know I have like 2 or 3 people already highly interested in doing that. I just I'm open for the best. We just haven't done it in the past, so I can't claim that we're going to have success. But it seems right. Seems right. Seems good. Let me break back into my Dipsy diver talk. Do you guys have any questions so far on that? I think that's simple. I think it's straightforward. I think you guys get it. And let me point out, I know a lot of you guys are pulling Dipseys already. I don't think this is brand new information. Hopefully you can glean a few simple things off. But if you have a specific question about Dipseys that I might be able to help out with, just ask in the chat. I'm happy to talk about it. It's no problem at all. Okie dokie. This is, I wanted to show this one quickly because it had some cool little setups here. And this is talking about everything, as far as my perspective is, up here in the very top. It's talking about everything from lake trout to striper and walleye to flies or meat rigs, which we don't do too much of at Raystown Lake. I know a couple of you guys do. You're ahead of us on the ball, but this the idea of doing trolling flies and meat rigs, this is going to change, though. You guys know that there's at least one gentleman who's from Aquatic Imitations. His name's Jeremy. Great dude. He's going to be there at the Raystown Rendezvous, and he is a fly fisherman. He's a fly fanatic. So we're going to actually be seeing more flies in the future. And yeah, you can troll flies, of course, for lake trout. There's nothing new about that. Lake trout trolling with flies is very common. So we're going to bring some new gear, some new ideas, and a lot of fun to you. And then, of course, down at the bottom I have the crawler harness, which you guys know I'm a big proponent for walleye up at Lake Erie. I did get my first request for a Lake Erie. We're having a conversation. We didn't book it or anything, but the point is, July is Lake Erie month. So if you guys want to go up to Lake Erie, book early rather than late. Lake Erie is just one of those places. I'm there for a limited window. And if you want to get up and do some fishing at Lake Erie with me, I need to know ahead of time just to work out the schedule with you and with the other guys who are going. It's no problem to do it. It's just helpful if you do it early rather than late. So if you guys are thinking about doing that this year, please get a hold of me sooner rather than later. The only thing that's different in this regular setup as far as the Dipseys are concerned here, it's just really talking about what you see written in here. That's the leader length and the line size. And you guys can reference this back if you want to. I don't think this is nearly as important as this diagram might be making it out, but hopefully it gives you guys some ideas. I talked about this and I forgot to bring the diagram up for you, but here it is. This is what I was actually talking about. This has the Dipsy diver on it. You trip the mechanism, and then it says to shift the motor into neutral. This is one thing I might actually disagree with. I think you just keep going. I don't think you need to change any. I don't. I pop it off the clip and I just hold on for the ride. I just wait. I don't crank at all. I just pop the clip and I just wait. And you can imagine that Dipsy diver is swimming up and it's pulling your crawler harness right up through those suspending walleye. The same thing works with a jet diver, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute. But same idea. It just pulls them up through the water. Your crawler harness comes up. You can actually do this same technique, like I was saying, simply by slow cranking and just decreasing the distance between you and the diver. So naturally, you're going to bring it closer. It's naturally going to come up through the column. So you can use that, have a little fun with that. You can actually be trolling, and say you have like you and your buddy, you got two lines out, both sides of the boat, and then you each have a rod in hand with a Dipsy, and you're letting it out, and you're watching the scanner, you're looking at your sonar, and when you see fish come through, you're ready for them if they hit, and if not, you just start cranking up through the column. And this, suddenly it plugs you into, it puts you somewhere in between trolling and cast retrieve. So it's a more engaging way to kind of fish, and you can do this successfully with at least two guys on the boat. You can certainly fish two guys with that method. I would say with that, I would turn the Dipseys out a little bit just so they're staying away from each other while you're fishing. So I wouldn't send them straight down. I would set them on setting 1 or 2 just so they stay away from each other. So you stay away from each other. Good technique, though. Good technique. I don't think you need to shift it into neutral, but that's the idea of this diagram here that I forgot to share with you. All right, there's your jet diver. So do you guys have any questions about that? Hopefully I didn't bull anybody over with that stuff. Oh, good question, Mark. An accurate depth chart for Dipseys. Every pack that you buy has a chart in it. So if you buy a Dipsy, I have links down below this video. You guys can actually go check them out right now while we're in this video. It's no problem. And thank you guys. I did see a lot of guys are making some purchases on Amazon. I am getting a small commission now from that. It's not much, but I really appreciate it, and it's growing. Thank you. I see you following the links. I appreciate it. So you can do it right now. You can click on the link just below that says Dipsy, and you can go and you can look to see what colors and sizes. I recommend size 1, and I do recommend you get the rings. But inside each disc, each pack, you're going to get a fold-out chart that is good, not just for that one. They actually have multiple sizes. They have charts for multiple sizes, but each one of them does have a chart in it. That being said, Mark, I don't use a chart. There's a reason for it. That chart has a lot of details on it that says, like, that depth, all the numbers on there and such, that is specific if you're going 2 miles per hour with 17-pound mono, and there's some specifics to it. So unless you set up your rod and reel to that specification before you even get out on the water, the chart starts to fall apart already. You see that? This is what I'll tell you. I don't think it matters. I just don't think it matters. Use the rod and reel setup, the line size that you prefer. And as a caveat to that, I'm going to come back to. But set up your rod and reel the way you set it up. And then put your Dipseys or your slide divers or whatever on it. And experiment just a little bit to kind of figure out what depths you're getting. Stay out of the trees. Be careful. The chart is going to be close. But the moment you go to an inside turn or an outside turn, your dipsies are going to come up or go down. They're going to speed up or they're going to slow down based on whether they're on an inside turn or an outside turn. So the whole time you're out there trolling and running, your dipsies are going to be coming up through the column and down through the column. So it's not a hard science. It's not going to be precise. If you're trolling along and you think you're holding 2 miles per hour and then the wind blows on your boat and now you slow down to 1 mile per hour just for a few moments, it's going to change the depth of the gear that you're dragging. So I just don't think it's that important. As a matter of fact, I think with all that variation, that deviation, it's actually a very good thing. I think it's very positive that your lures are going up and down and working the water column behind your boat. So it's not a bad thing at all. But yeah, just to answer your question, simply put, every single one of those Dipseys has a chart in it. Brian, the speed can be different. I typically run, the simple rule is put your lure or bait in the water next to the boat and just look at it. Make sure it looks right. If it doesn't look right, don't be throwing it back and trying to catch fish with it. It's got to look correct. So crankbait needs to be moving correctly. You don't want to just, doing like this little thing, you got to change your swivel or you're not, whatever you have it tied up to. You got to make sure it moves correctly. If it's moving correctly, that's the right speed. Yeah, don't try to overthink that too much. If it's moving right, it's right. Usually, I would say you're 1.7 to 2.1. My rule of thumb is just 2 miles per hour. Because like I said, you're going to go faster and slower, inside turn, outside turn, wind blowing, current, all that stuff plays, it plays its own role in it. So as long as you're close, you're golden. Most importantly, though, make sure that bait looks right in the water. Good questions. Thank you. Appreciate that. I appreciate that. The same thing is true with the jet divers. I just want to point out with these jet divers that they have a function that's a little different. I love that it says slip drifting or back trolling. I love that it has this slip drifting because we were talking about slipping and drifting here in a couple live streams ago. I like the jet diver for really light baits like you see here. It's just a floating jig head with a worm on it. It's a great walleye setup. Really a subtle presentation, whereas like a crawler harness is kind of loud. It's got the spoon or the blades flipping around, and it's just more to it, more body. This is a really small presentation, a tried and true presentation for walleye. And then, of course, you can use a banana or a crankbait or something too. This is different, though. You see two different rigs tied up here. One is straight from the jet diver. That's because this is a very light lure presentation. And these are kind of nice, too, because even if you stop your boat, the jet divers are actually buoyant. So they'll actually come up to the surface. So in the idea of slip drifting, you can actually troll through, and if you get into, say you have 4 of these jet divers out, and you troll through an area, and say you get through an area and you saw on your down scan there was a bunch of fish down there in the bottom. You pull through it, and you can't wait too long, but you get through it and you haven't loaded up. You can actually shift that boat into neutral, and you'll notice those jet divers are actually going to pull your baits up through that column. It's the same technique. It's the same presentation, slightly different technique, but same presentation. As far as the fish is concerned, you have an attractor, and then you have your baits rising through the column. Natural. That's exactly the way a bait fish would try to run away from these more aggressive fish, from your predatorial fish. They expect that. It's normal to them. So because this floats, you have a different option, a way to present your baits differently. And it's a lot of fun, too, because you can go stop and go. You can go search, and when you find them, you can come back to them, and you can cut it into neutral and just wait. And one of them just loads up. It's a good time. Your boat's going to still be moving really slowly, but you're going to load, that rod's going to load up. You're going to feel it. The difference in these setups, though, from going straight back is due to this drop lead. So this is not a three-way swivel. This is a barrel swivel, so this would slide up and down the line right here. Do not use a three-way swivel. This is important because if the fish takes your crankbait, you want him to be able to run and pull and stuff and it not be fighting against this jet diver as much as well, you don't want to be fighting the jet diver as well. The other thing is, because this is a crankbait, if you try to run a heavy lure, or more specifically, remember I said the jet diver is more for a lightweight lure. If you have a heavier lure, you can still use it, but you have to run it down in that dropper rig so that it's not pulling it, or it'll just disengage it. And jet divers don't really have an engagement and disengagement lever on it. What happens is you roll them over. So instead of diving, they roll over and they start coming up. So as a fish, it's diving, your line's back here, and the fish pulls it, it actually flips, and now you're not fighting, the dive of the jet diver anymore. It's actually helping you bring the fish up, if anything. So it's kind of a cool instrument. It's a cool tool. It's a great design, but I can't tell how they're suggesting this should be. So I think maybe this, your diver, is actually on the sliding barrel swivel. That is, this line coming down from your rod is straight, at least back, to your lure. This is your straight line. And then your diver here slides up and down the main line. So I think that's the way I would rig it too. I would like my main line to go straight to the business end. Right back to my crankbait. So as straight a line as possible. There's some extra beads and things going on here. I'm going to tell you guys, I eliminate anything that I can eliminate from my rigs. I don't like snap swivels. I prefer barrel swivels. I only run beads if I think it's benefiting. So try to stay away from junking your gear up too much. Less is more. This is a simple lesson we all know is true. Less is more. So keep it simple. Keep it simple. Thank you for saying that, Doug. I told you I had two things that there's a benefit. So when you're running it back, I'm going to answer what you said. Is it difficult? Let me start there. You find Dipseys difficult to trip when using mono and having them far back because of the mono stretch? Yes, absolutely, 100%. I recommend that folks run fluoro. As a matter of fact, I recommend 17-pound fluoro. I usually run 17-pound fluoro, and if you have mono, that's fine. It'll still work. I will say this. Let me go back to my my Dipsy diagram. That's something I kind of glazed over. Like Doug pointed out, it can be difficult to disengage these Dipseys. And I don't know what it is. It's the Coriolis effect. It's the moon phase. It is the atmospheric pressure, but I cannot explain why this frustrating phenomenon exists. There is a screw that holds this release pin in place. So right here, there's a little screw. And I am telling you, you have to adjust this every time you send a new lure out behind it. You're going to have to put this out and mess with this and play with this. So take a screwdriver with you. You have to be able to disengage this, and it's sometimes, like Doug pointed out, can be really difficult if you're using mono, because you'll get a lot of stretch in that line, and it'll work as like a dampening snubber, or it'll feel like a rubber band, and it just won't have the oomph to pull that clip out. And I can't explain it, but you can get it tuned just perfect, and then put a new lure on it, and it just won't disengage. You'll be back at wrestling, racking on that thing, and it won't break loose. I can't explain it. Just keep a screwdriver handy so that you can adjust that and mess with it just for a minute next to the boat. Make sure you can disengage it. Make sure that it's functioning properly before you send it back and try to catch a fish with it. But yeah, it's a very good point. You are going to have to adjust and play with that a little bit. This is the process of fishing. The processes of fishing. It's enjoyable, but it can be frustrating too. Try to embrace that a little bit. It's a good time, but you are going to have some frustrating setbacks. And this is one of them. Yeah, if there's a big old fish on it like that, Dan said, he'll do the work for you. He'll disengage it for you. Now, I told you how I rig my rods. The one thing that might be an issue, not specifically for the Dipseys, but for the slide diver more so, because your line is going down through here. You see a little groove up here in the front. It goes through this brass, this little brass insert, and your line actually goes right through the whole body of this slide diver. That's where it slides through. That's where the name comes from. And then it comes up over this little lever up here, and this is called a light bite trigger. So even small fish will trip this, so you won't be dragging fish. Again, another great reason for the slide diver. I think this mechanism, this tool, this is a good system. I think it's a little bit more fidgety, but much more useful to me, as you know, and I think you'd experience it too. You got to work with it a little bit. Same screw right here to tighten and loosen that lever when it breaks free. And this one here tightens as well, just for that lever. So you have to adjust it a little bit. When you get it right, it works really well. But because it's a slide diver, you're going to be sending out, say you're going to send out like 25 or 30 feet. I run a backer of braid with a fluorocarbon leader. I make sure that my fluorocarbon leaders are 50 feet long, because most of the time I don't send the lure back any further than 50 feet, even striper fishing. So what I'll do is I'll run that all the way to the end, right where the braid meets the fluoro, and that's where I clip it. I'm pointing this out because if you are going to run slide divers, you got to have enough line to clamp to. And I don't think you should be clamping to braid. Braid just slips. It's just one of those issues with braid. So it might be a simple thing. Just make sure you have a long enough leader to do the kind of fishing you want to do. Build your system in your mind, and then go to your rod and reel, and then to your boat. Build your system so that you're ready to hit the water here this spring. So a good leader on it will make a big difference. Good, good. Any questions about that? One of the first divers I ever got into. So, of course, there's the Dipsy divers. Those are popular. But I want to introduce you guys to my little friend, the Tadpole. I know. Don't they look great? I want to take you guys to the map here real quick, all right? Shoot over to the map. I want to show you guys something. We're going to reminisce for a minute. All right, here's 7 points. We're going to leave 7 points. Here's the beer barrel. We're going to leave the barrel. And we're going to come right up here to mile marker 12. I think this is 12, right? This point right here, I have so much history at this point. I'm like, all these ideas are flushing back, guys. I told you a story about catching a bass back here, and I was really hungry that day. I released them. I did. I released them. Don't crucify me. But it came close. It came close, I promise. I was camping, and I almost ate that bass. And then I remember my buddy caught his first laker. He was just casting a paddle tail for bass against the bank, and he picked up a laker. And my John boat days, this right here is where I sunk my John boat. You guys know this spot here? This is a no-wake or shallow water buoy kind of sticks out here somewhere. I was banked up somewhere like right in here where my cursor is with my John boat. And there's a buoy here. It just says danger, shallow water. A big, bayliner of a boat just came cruising up, cut that corner. He came between the buoy and the point, real close. When we came around that turn, where all that wake went, right? Right into my John boat. My John boat sunk right here off this point. I was in 2 feet of water. John boat sunk. It took me it took me like 2 hours to get my John boat floating again, and I got back to the campground. But that was one time, and one time only. I sunk my John boat, and it's because of some weird situation. Needless to say to you guys, don't park your boat on this point because people like to carve it. Poor boater. Oh, and then my third one right here, it brings me to the Dipsy. Right here where it turns like 30 to 40 feet, this is where I caught my first ever lake trout. And I caught my first ever lake trout pulling live bait behind a tadpole. And it was one of these. I recommend if you guys get the tadpoles, this is made by Offshore Tackle. If you get the tadpoles, I'm going to recommend that you get the Max. Like the are they Max? Is that what they're called? But anyways, I'm going to recommend you get the bigger ones. And these are so simple because this swivel here just slips up into the crooks, right up into this crooks here on the top, and it's diving and it's weighted. And then this back end piece here just goes back to your hook or back to your lure. The one caveat I'll say about tadpoles is you can't pull heavy weights with them. They'll pull a spoon, but I was actually just running a hook back there with a live bait whenever I caught that laker. But I caught it right there on that point, man. I have a lot of history on that point. Hey, Robin, welcome. You're not late at all. Right on time. So the tadpoles are probably the very first diver I'm going to recommend you guys get. The great thing is whenever you do catch a fish is they disengage, so you're not fighting any diving whenever you're actually bringing the fish in. You can run a short leader behind them of just like, 3 to 4 feet, or you can run longer, but then it gets a little bit difficult managing the fish when you get back to the boat because you run out of, reel. You can't pull a line that's not there. So keep your line, your leader kind of short, but you can run live bait back behind it. And I'll share this with you as well. It's dynamic enough that you can actually run it behind boards. So this is showing a crawler harness back here, but you can certainly just run a, back to a hook with a live bait. And you can use this for running your boards out for striped bass. So this would be more like a summertime setup, whereas spring you would pretty much run weightless, keep your baits really high in the water column. And then as the year goes on, more of a summertime setting, say you want to send them down, your baits down to like 20 feet, this would be a great option to be able to do that. Just run your line out to them. Short leader back. I think those measurements sound perfect. You can do a crawler harness or a hook or a floating jig head with a leech. You can get creative now. But these tadpoles are so easy that introductory level of diver that you can do this immediately. And they still continue to be in my arsenal, so it's something you don't outgrow. They will always be useful to you. So tadpoles, I'm a big fan of them. I caught a lot of fish behind a tadpole. And when you make it up the Lake Erie, they work really well with crawler harnesses. And so you'll be able to just keep on using them. They're a lot of fun. The weighted, so Offshore Tackle has a whole collection. I think you can do an inline weight as well, but it's a little bit different. It is a diver, I guess, of sorts, but I'm not going to go over that stuff. But Offshore Tackle has a lot of equipment. You guys can check it out. There's some cool stuff. If nothing else, it's a lot of fun to delve into these more advanced techniques and working them into your fishing habits. It just expands your mind. You start seeing things a little bit differently. So it's worthwhile digging into. I linked these down below so you guys can follow them if you're not familiar with them. And by following those affiliate links, you are helping me out. So thank you. The one thing I didn't link down below was actually, I think I did link flashers. I did not link what's called a spin doctor. So I want to talk about flashers real quick, and then I'll talk about what a spin doctor is. If I have it here. Maybe I didn't save a picture of it. I did not. So a flasher is a little bit more simple than... I feel like I need to bring it up to best show you. Let's do this. We're just going to you're gonna cruise the net with me. So I just punched in here flasher for trolling. That's all, and it brings up these flashers. So a flasher is just an inline piece of equipment that would go ahead of your spoon or your lure. Usually spoon. We're usually talking about spoons whenever we're talking flashers, lake trout fishing, things like that. But if you instead of a flasher, if you were to put in here spin doctor, you end up with these fishy looking things. So it's a flasher, but it spins. It's a real erratic. It kind of just goes in a big bow like this. The times that I think these spin doctors really look best, and I only have a little bit of experience running these, but I think when these look best is whenever you're running flies. So as I get more into this, and we're reaching the end of my expertise, if you will, but as the summer gets into it, I'm going to be starting to run some flies because I have a friend now who makes them. And so naturally, I want to use flies. But the spin doctor, because it's a very erratic roll like that, it kind of flips around. That fly backer has a tendency to kind of do a bounce and a weave. And you can imagine how that would kind of throw it around. And that spin doctor creates the action in a fly that it wouldn't have if you were just pulling it, dead behind a downrigger. So now your flasher is actually whipping it around and creating some movement, some life. And so they're really effective with a fly. And the same thing is true with a flasher. Ahead of a spoon, it's going to create, like a spoon would just kind of, as I say, a rock, tumble, and flip. You might have this like little pattern that a spoon does, but now with the flasher, it's a more erratic, and it kind of casts it and flicks it and does some more intricate movement. So it's a more aggressive take on it. So a great thing to do would be able to run a straight spoon out and then also run a flasher on a separate rig and just see which one is bringing more fish in. So now you're testing the fish to see what they want. And then on top of that, you can start running things like the spin doctors and whirly gigs and all kinds of fun stuff. Again, you get into like this more advanced techniques, it just becomes more and more fun. So even if you have a poor catch day on the water, you're going to be working your systems, you're going to be learning, you're going to become more effective, and you'll still have a great day on the water. God forbid you have a great day on the water, but you don't have a fish to show for it. It doesn't matter. If you're doing the right things, the results will follow. Just stick with the path, stick on your course, stay with what you know what you're doing, develop your technique. The results will follow. Focus on your system. The results will come. Do me a favor, guys, hit the thumbs up so that YouTube knows that everything's popping here on YouTube for my channel, and they'll monetize me. Do me a favor, guys, and look and see if you're subbed. I'm so close to having a monetized channel here, and it's wild to think that what I do for YouTube isn't enough to be monetized, but it ultimately just comes down to sub count. So if you haven't subbed yet, you keep coming back. I know you do. Thank you. But sub up, man. I'd appreciate it. So let me move away from my first ever lake trout with you. We're going to go back to 7 points. When you guys come out here in the spring, you're going to put it, here's the ramp. You're going to put your boat in, and you're going to come trolling right out here. And likely what you'll end up doing is you'll probably actually turn and go down toward Marty's Island. You'll probably come down this way. What I'm going to tell you is that's a pretty good idea. I want you guys to make sure you order a set of my lures, because in the spring you're going to want them. I promise. When you come back through here, you can look for trees. You can jig the top of the trees with the black lure. Just put a big tube on it. And then you can get over here into the flats, either over on this section and just right around 45 feet or 60 feet maybe, and jig the white one. And then you can come over to the saddle and put the green one on and jig right on the top of the saddle here. Guys, it's going to be a great start to the spring if you go out on your first date and your first day on Lacetown Lake and you jig up a few Lakers using my lures. And of course, I want you guys to be successful out there. Of course, I want to sell some lures, but I think the spring's going to sneak up on you a lot faster than you're anticipating. So if you haven't got a set, order them. I think I'm going to spend a day tomorrow in the shop fulfilling some orders. So if you want to get them done, it'd be helpful if I had them in before tomorrow. But I'll get them shipped out right away for you. If you are going to come out here and troll in front of 7 points, this is what I'm going to tell you to do. This main channel here is where you want to focus your efforts. Whether you do it right here in front of 7 points or you go slightly upstream, I want you to focus this main channel area. And even if you go down here around Susquehannock or something, around the campground, say you want to troll all the way down here in front of mile marker 5 and 6 or something, stay in the main channel. I'm telling you the main channel because I don't want you to get into trees mostly, but it's actually going to be okay to troll out there and keep your lines high. So if you guys are all out there trolling together, you can keep your lines higher in the water because it's spring. The Lakers are going to be more you'll be catchable. You'll be able to connect with more Lakers up in the column than normally. That means the rest of the year. So spring ice out lake trout is known to be a thing because the lake trout are up and through the column, and you'll have a lot of fun using some of these simple techniques and catching some fish. Call the boys, man. The ice is coming off and the boats are going on. Nice. Walleye wings. That sounds great. You guys have any questions for me? We're kind of on the tail end of this. We're kind of cruising out the backside of this live stream. Do you guys have any questions? You guys want to look at the map? Anything on your mind? Anything at all? When you guys go to my website, if you guys are looking to book the first 2 weeks of Raystown, that's the link right on top. You just click on that, add it to your cart. Do me a favor, shoot me a text. If you don't have my number, scroll to the bottom of the page. It's right there. And now it's on the live stream. There's no excuse, guys. If you guys are out on the water, I want you to have my phone number in there. If for no other reason, it's like a safety thing. I'm on the water a lot. And I may not be able to help you, but I do know who's on the water a lot also. So we might be able to help you out. And it's always good to have a phone number handy. At least you have some potential, someone to reach out to. My number's right there. By now, everybody should have that in their phone. Book up a trip. I'd appreciate that. I mentioned Lake Erie. That's just below it. Cold water reel repairs is available. And I am going to be in the shop tomorrow making lures. So I'm going to get these lures out. But before you leave tonight, do the Racetown Rendezvous registration. And if nothing else, I will see you there. Any questions, guys, as we kind of cruise out the back end of this? I want you guys to know that you're part of the community. It's good to be here and be a part of it. I am just a fisherman most of the time. I've been fortunate enough that you guys have come out and fished with me a little bit, but ultimately I'm just a fisherman figuring this lake out, just like you guys are. I'm available for conversations and questions. Shoot me a text. I'm happy to talk to you. And we're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep doing this. We're going to share some knowledge. I shared just for a moment on the end of the last stream, and I only touched on it, but I think it's so very true. A lot of us have worked in the trades. That is, we got plumbers and electricians and framers and bricklayers. A lot of us have worked in the trades. I did myself for almost 6 years. We did residential construction. I worked under a contractor. But anyways, he did all the plans. I showed up with a hammer. But here's what happened over the course of that 5 years and some odd months. The guys who have been doing it the longest, they taught me. It was just little bits and pieces here and there. Sometimes it was plumbing or bricks and laying concrete. I mean, it was just little things here and there. But they always shared. They were always building me up. I can tell you after 5 years of doing that, you're not a novice anymore. You can show up and be a real effective member of the construction crew. It's that level to where if you're not present that day, things slow down a little bit. And that's a good place to be. And there's no way we could have gotten there if they hadn't shared the information with me. Yeah, there's some little edgy stuff in that. Sometimes they goof off and, send you for the siding stretcher tool or down to the hardware store for red and white striped paint, or something like that. But ultimately what I'm saying is the older generation shared information and brought up the next people in line. And that's what made it work so well. If we don't share that philosophy in the fishing community, we're going to lose the youth coming up behind us. We need to be teaching them. We need to be growing this community we have. We need to create more unity. And the only way I know how to do that is this: live streams, getting together and hanging out at the rendezvous and just putting faces to names so that we're not just keyboard warriors, This is how it's going to change, and I do think it's changing, and the culture is turning, and I think it's all for a very good and positive thing. Tight lines, Doug. Good night. One of the things I want to point out, coming down the pipe, I talked to a gentleman from the Striped Bass Association about this. Moving forward, there's going to be a live stream before spring that's going to talk about striped bass conservation. I have the good fortune to, again, have some highly qualified gentlemen who are talking to me and such. And so I'm going to kind of compile a little list of conservation methods that we can this spring put into a place. Just as a community, we can just voluntarily start doing this stuff for our striped bass at Raystown Lake. So I'm going to do a stream specifically on that. I'm excited about that. And it's just going to be talking about how to handle striped bass and how to better conserve the striped bass fishery that's so important at Lake Raystown. So that one's coming down the pipe too. And I do have some other ideas, but that one's the big one to point out. I'm pretty excited about that one. But we'll talk about it more as we move forward. Keep an eye out for the dock updates over the next day or two, but I think the stream is done with that, guys. You guys have any questions for me? Sometimes I feel like I'm just getting long-winded, so I'm happy to talk. I got nothing going on. I might eat something after we get off the internet, but check your subs. Give me the thumbs up. You guys are already doing that. You're doing such a good job. I appreciate it. The links for all the products that I was talking about are down below, and that takes you to Amazon. But thank you for shopping. I did keep the other links there too. So the Raystown Rendezvous, my fishing jig is down there, and I think I even kept the heated gloves that I've been talking about. Rock Bros. Those are all down there. So if you guys use any of that stuff, that helps me out. Thank you. Any questions at all? I'll hang out for like 5 or 10 minutes here with you, depending on questions. If you want to do something, we can do it. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. Well said, Brian. Thank you. You know what I was looking at? I'm kind of excited about. I've really got into crappie fishing. So I'm really interested in crappie, right? I've always enjoyed crappie fishing, but I'm thinking this year, this is James Creek I'm looking at. This is James Creek right here. This is H. And Pee Wee Island. Back in here is what we have come to call Party Cove. But the real name is Broomballs. So this is Broomballs back through here. I'm thinking about actually going back in here and checking it out for crappie. I haven't fished back here a whole lot. It's kind of back out of the way. I'm going back here a little bit, but I think that's what I'm going to do here at Ice Out. I think I'm going to spend a little time back here. Well, this is probably going to be one of the last places to thaw out. But I think I want to come back here to Party Cove before there's a party, you know? We're going to have a crappie party before the Party Cove kicks off. And even just check it, all of these inlets. So I just want to come back here and check it out. But first things first, we have the Ice Out Lake Trout. We'll do Ice Out Lake Trout. Some crappie fishing, striper right behind it. It's going to be a good spring, guys. Really good spring. Phil, I'm happy to help, man. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you saying so. I'm glad it's helping. We're growing together. Phil is Raystown River Adventures there. If you guys want to go check out his YouTube, he'd appreciate that. He is currently doing a John boat build, and he has a vintage engine he's looking to restore for it. So he's got a lot of cool stuff going on, and it's actively going on. YouTube is funny. I'm in the YouTube world, so I kind of see how it has changed over the years, and it has turned into more of like a business strategy that's getting kind of ugly. But when it started out, it was truly about you and me. It was YouTube. The way it was supposed to be was it was about you and me. We'd post just stuff about living life and projects we're working on and stuff. A lot of it would be just like for fun. But it turned into this whole thing, you know, the snowball gets rolling downhill kind of thing, you know. But Phil's channel he is currently, right now, doing this John boat build, something that some of us, I've done it, some of us have done personally, and it's memorable. It's a cool experience. If you haven't built a John boat, you should. And Phil's doing it right now, so it's worth checking out. Go sit with his videos and follow along on his build. I think you'll have a good time reminiscing with them. You're welcome, Buck. I'm here for you, man. If you guys haven't watched the dock update from this past week, go check it out. I predicted that we would have 2 to 3 weeks of ice at Raystown Lake, and it looks like I'm on target for that. Honestly, I haven't seen it, so it might actually, I may have overshot. We might have less than 2 weeks of ice safe for fishing. I'm not sure, but make sure you guys, if you are getting out on the ice at Raystown, you're really taking your time and checking that ice, because I think it's going to break up a little sooner than what I predicted. But we'll see. I said 2 to 3 weeks. When I go look at it here in the next, either tomorrow or Wednesday, I'll put a new dock update up on the channel, but I'll talk about it more then. We'll see. You're welcome, Robin. I'm here. That's what I do. Got to help the next person in line, you know? Ultimately, these lives, I think, if you took them all as like an annual catalog, we'll say. So if you took all the lives that I did during 2025 and watched them as a catalog in their entirety, that'd be like one chapter. And right now we are currently building chapter for 2026. So all the videos that we have from this year, you could put that into a log for, or into a chapter for 2026. And as you do this, year to year, you can see how this chapter after chapter after chapter, some things are going to change, but there's going to be some things that just fundamentally stay the same. They do not change. I've always been an advocate for saying Raystown Lake is a hard lake to fish. So you have to stick to the basics and work hard at them. So you have to work hard at Raystown Lake. And if you'll stick to the basics and work them hard, you'll be successful. But that's the chapters. You'll see those common threads through them. They're simple basics. And if we stick to them, we're successful. Yeah, Bill, it's a lot of fun. The crappie fishing at Raystown Lake is unique because it's a deep water fishery. Crappie, they just act a little different when it's primarily deep water. But crappie still do what crappie do. So it's not crazy. It's just they're kind of stuck. Yeah, they're like, you think of like a shallow lake. I should do like a whole live stream on crappie. Maybe that's an idea. Maybe Bill, maybe you just planted something. I should talk about crappie for a whole stream of it. Patterns of crappie. I'll start putting together ideas for it, man. Yeah. I think we're good then. I think I'm going to let you guys go with it. And, bid you guys farewell for the evening, for the week. Keep an eye on the channel for the doc update here either tomorrow or Wednesday. And we'll keep doing these live streams for a few more weeks yet. I'm not done yet. I still have some ideas, and I'm still excited to do them. Do the Raystown Rendezvous registration on randallrydes.com. Order a set of lures. Book a charter. I want to hang out with you personally. And we're going to exercise all these basic techniques in person with you. I'm going to teach you firsthand. And then we're going to go jig a few Lakers up together using my lure. It's going to be a good time. Can't wait to meet you face to face and shake your hand. So good night, everybody. Much love and much respect. Good night.